Hey guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. In this video, we are going to look at the topic business environment. So here is the overview of the chapter. We are going to understand what is a business environment, what are the factors that constitute it, and what are their features and importance. Then we'll discuss about the economic environment of India in detail and the impact of government policy changes. Now let us try and understand what is a business environment. Environment indicates our surroundings. We as individuals are shaped by our surroundings. Say as to the language that we speak is same as what people around us speak. And as citizens, we try to comply with the laws of the land. On these factors, we have little or no control. The same way, a business too has an environment of its own. Now let us look at the definition and try to understand more about it. The definition says business environment is the sum total of all individual institutions and other forces that are outside the control of a business enterprise but that affects its performance. So sum total means the aggregate. So there are very many factors. How can we group these factors? These factors can be individuals like customers and suppliers, or they can be institutions like the judiciary or the government, and other forces like the technological forces or economic forces that are outside the control of the business. So, a business has no control over them, but this can influence the business in a significant way and affect its performance. Let us now take 5 major factors and discuss about them in detail. These factors are economic, social, technological, political, and legal. First, we have the economic environment. So now let us understand what are the components of economic environment. They are interest rates, changes in disposable income, stock market indices, GDP, currency exchange rates, and so on. So how does it impact the business? To understand this, let us take one component as an example, say currency exchange rates. Some countries try to deliberately keep their value of currency low compared to a foreign currency so that they can encourage a lot of exports from their country. So, this will lead to a lot of export manufacturers thriving. The next component to understand this economic environment would be changes in disposable income. So, first let us understand what is a disposable income. Disposable income is the surplus amount which is left after you pay your taxes. This can be either saved or spent. Now, when the disposable income of people in a country is going to be very high, the demand for luxury products arises. So, this again will lead to a lot of luxury product manufacturers thriving. Next would be interest rates. Let us take the case of automobile industry and housing industry. For people to invest in them, they'll have to procure loans from banks. So only if the banks are going to give loans for a longer period of time with lower interest rates, people are going to be interested in this. So if a banking system of a country is that way, then the demand for these products in that country would be more. Up next is the social environment. So, what are its components? One is customs, which are widely accepted behaviors. We go and touch the feet of our elders, it is a custom. Next component is traditions, which are social practices that have lasted for decades. We celebrate festivals like Diwali, Christmas, Pongal, so this is a tradition. Next is values, which are concepts that society holds in very high esteem. So, freedom, social justice, all will fall into this category. So, for a business to function, it has to respect the sentiments of people there. It will not only help to make business but also tap a lot of opportunities. Let us take a real life example of McDonald's. When McDonald's came to India, they noticed that a lot of people in India are vegetarians and they worship the cows. So, how is this relevant here? If we look at the McDonald's menu in the United States of America, it comprised of a lot of items having beef as the main course. So, this would not be feasible in a country like India where cows are worshipped and protected. So, to tap the opportunity here, they had to revamp their entire menu and make it suitable for their Indian customers. Now, according to this factor, a business will not just be able to survive, but it can also tap new opportunities. Say during festival times, it is a practice to distribute sweets among us. So a lot of sweet manufacturers can make use of this opportunity. We now move on to the technological environment. Change is the only constant here. There are new inventions every single day to make our lives simpler. So it has a twofold impact on the business. One is on the operations of a business and two is on the product itself. So how does it impact the operations? A real life example would be the case of big e-commerce giants like Amazon and Flipkart. So when we order products, they are reportedly said to have robots which will go and pick up the right product from the warehouse and parcel it to us. So this way, a business can efficiently use technology in their operations and try to reduce cost of their product. Number two will be on the product itself. Let us take the example of watches. Initially, the watches only used to show us the time. But these days, with a lot of scientific improvements and innovations, the watch will not just show us the time, but will also show us the number of steps that we have taken, our heart rate, if we have any phone calls or messages in our phone, if the watch is configured to the phone. This way, a watch has evolved over the time. So, a company will have to invest a lot in research and development so that they can ensure that their products don't become obsolete and they can keep pace with the changing technology and changing needs of the customers. Let's now look at the political environment. It comprises of two things. One is general stability and peace, and two is the attitude of government. First thing would be general stability and peace. So, a business will normally want to set up its operations in a country which has a stable environment. No business would want to invest in a country which is going to wage a war on another country because it knows if something like that happens, it is going to pose the business with a lot of threats. Two will be the attitude of government. Let us take the case of India. After 1991, when the economy opened for foreign investors to come and invest, people were still very scared because they feared in India there might be a lot of red tapeism and officials might take bribe, making it very complicated for them to set up their factories or business units in India. The recent example would be a case when the government opposed the plan of Tatas in West Bengal and they had to move from West Bengal to Gujarat and set up a new factory there. The last factor is the legal environment. It comprises of legislations and laws, rules and regulations. These rules might be different depending on the type of business. The compliance requirement for a partnership firm may be completely different from what is required by a company. And it can also be different based on the industry. Say, tobacco manufacturers will have to follow certain rules, but the same rules may not be applicable to chemical manufacturers. They might have another set of rules. The next question would be what kind of compliance they need to follow. Let us take the case of tobacco manufacturers in India. It is required by law that they display that smoking is injurious to health on their products. And this also applies to some food products where you can see the ingredients which are used. Next is a recent example where essential commodities like hand sanitizers and masks, whose prices could have gone up due to high demand and low supply, were brought into the Essential Commodities Act as essential commodities and prices were regulated. So now the manufacturers would not be able to charge a price which is unreasonable. This environment is extremely important as non-compliance will have severe consequence on the business like facing punishment and losing public trust and confidence. So guys, now let's do a quick recap of whatever we have learned till here. So we first saw what is business environment. We had a look at the definition. It says it's the sum total of all individual, institutions and other forces that are outside the control of a business enterprise but that affect its performance. So I've listed down all the keywords in this slide so you can have a look at them. Then we saw what are the different factors or dimensions of business environment. There are 5 of them: economic, social, technological, political and legal. I have jotted down the keywords which are helpful in identifying these dimensions. As and when we solve case studies, and if you find any other word which relate to that particular head, you can add it. This area is very important for case study based questions. So for economic environment is just GDP, interest rates, disposable income, currency exchange rates. For social, it will say customs, traditions, values, or some beliefs that people have. Next is technological, where it will talk about innovations, scientific improvements, and sometimes it talks about anything on the internet, then again it will fall into technological. Next is political, it generally talks about the general stability and peace, attitude of the government, and any policy implementation of the government also falls under political environment. Next will be legal, it talks about rules, regulations, and then if it says, the Supreme Court implemented this or the court implemented this, then again those cases will fall under the legal environment. So now it's time for questions. We'll discuss value based questions, case study based questions, which are very, very important when it comes to factors, and then we'll also discuss MCQ based questions. So let's first do a warm up question. It says, with changes in consumption habits of people, Nilesh, who was running a sweet shop, shifted to chocolate business. On the eve of Diwali, he offered chocolates in attractive packages at reasonable prices. He anticipated huge demand and he has created a website, and he has also made a lot of profit. Now the question says, identify and explain the dimensions of business environment. Your eye should immediately go to the first line where it talks about consumption habits of people and it says Diwali. So what environment it is? Social environment. Next, he created a website, Chocolove. So anything with creation of website or anything which has to do with internet, it will fall under technological environment. So now, these are the two environments that we have seen. Let's now go and check the answer. See, we've got them right. It talks about social environment and technological environment. And when this question is given, you're supposed to write 2 lines and explain about the environment and the various factors which form part of the environment. So another similar type of question, it says a recent rate cut in interest on loans announced by banks encouraged Amit to take a loan, and he had experimented and developed a car powered by fuel produced from garbage, and he has won a prize also. It again says what are the dimensions involved. So the first line it says rate cut, which means economic environment, and next is fuel produced from garbage. So this is something which is really innovative. So it talks about technological environment, and it also says science fair, and all of these words indicate that there is some scientific improvement, and it talks about technological. Sometimes the words will be hidden like this, and you will have to apply logic and find them out. So now we've got the answers right. It's economic environment and technological environment. You're supposed to elaborate a bit more on this. So this one is a trick question. It says, as per the directions issued by the Supreme Court, the government passed an order to ban the sale of tobacco products within the area of 200 meters of all educational institutions, as its consumption is injurious to health, and 2, people are becoming more conscious about health and fitness. Identify the business environment under 3 different dimensions by quoting from above paragraph. So in this question it says 3 different dimensions, but usually people get confused. When they read this question, they'll say directions issued by the Supreme Court, and it will say that the government implemented it. So they'll have a doubt whether it is legal or political. How do we differentiate or how do we identify this? Whenever it says some law has been passed by the court, it will mean legal environment. It talks about any legislations, it will go to legal environment. If it says the government has done something, only then it will come into political environment. So there are 2 environments here, both legal and political. Next it says people are becoming more conscious. So anything which has to do with people and people's consciousness, it is social environment. And when you come to the presentation of the answers, it already said quote from the paragraph. So you're supposed to quote the keywords which made you identify these concepts. So the presentation of the answer is quite different from how we presented it prior. Because prior we just explained about it, but here we are quoting from the case study as such. So one has to be very careful. So now let's do a comprehensive question. It says the court passed an order to ban polythene bags, as these bags create many environmental problems which affect the life of people. Society at large is more concerned about the quality of life. The government decided to give subsidy to jute industry in order to promote this business. As a result, innovative techniques are being developed to manufacture jute bags at low rates, And another outcome is incomes are rising and people can afford to buy these bags. So you're supposed to identify the dimensions and you're also supposed to quote lines. So in this case study, you have all the 5 dimensions. First, it says court passed, so legal environment comes into picture. Then it says society at large affect the people's life. Then societal, so social environment comes. Next is government decided, so political environment. Then innovative techniques, so scientific environment. Incomes are rising. We saw this example in the economic environment. So again, this comes. So here is the answer, guys. Now this is the reason why we are supposed to learn the keywords which are associated to a concept. When you will have to quote lines, you will have to show the examiner that you've really understood the concept. If you're going to quote wrong lines and give all the environment, then you're going to be awarded no marks at all. So you're supposed to be very careful of this. So now this is a value-based question. It says Make in India is an initiative launched by the Government of India to encourage national and multinational companies to manufacture their products in India. It focuses on job creation and skill enhancement and is in 25 sectors of the economy. Under this initiative, brochures on these sectors and a web portal were released. The initiative aims at high standards and minimizing the impact on environment. It also seeks to attract foreign capital investment in India. So you're supposed to identify and you're supposed to give values. So now let us look at the answer. So the answer says political environment because it says Make in India, it's a government initiative. It will give you the clue. Next is technological environment. It says web portal. So that is the key word, a very small word which can be missed. So each and every word of the case study is of utmost priority. Next, it says it seeks to attract foreign capital investment, so economic environment comes. Now, in a value-based question, you're supposed to write a couple of values. Always try to put relevant values. Don't write some rubbish values which have no connection to the case studies. This will not give a very good impression to the invigilator. You can now tell here that high quality standards, concern for environment, all of these. So, this gives a very nice image of your value understanding to the examiner. So now since you have MCQs, there can also be a case study based MCQ. This is a trick one, so I've tried to highlight it here. It says just after the declaration of the Lok Sabha elections 2009, the Bombay Stock Exchange Price Index Sensex rose by 2100 points in a day. Identify the environmental factor which led to this rise. So now students are going to get very confused with political environment and economic environment. I'll tell you the answer. The answer is political environment. Now just because it says Sensex, Bombay Stock Exchange, your mind will say economic environment. Now read the question. It says the factor which led to this rise. So the Lok Sabha election, it has to do something with the election of government and people coming to power. So it talks about political environment. So the political environment led to this change in the economic environment. So one has to be very careful with regard to these types of MCQs. Thank you for watching. Hope you guys loved this video. If yes, then do like, share and subscribe. And also stay tuned to this channel to have more updates on this lesson and also other lessons of your curriculum.